All right. So let's dig into all things Ludwig standard. How does it compare to the, I don't even know what the pro line is called.
I guess you'd call them like classics. Yeah.
So what's the main similarities and differences?
So these are 3-ply shells, the same as the, if you want to call them the classics. So like the downbeat configuration, the super classic configuration, they're all 3-ply, typically poplar maple shells with reinforcement rings. After this, they came out with the Ludwig rockers. And for a while, those were like a 4-ply maple, and then they came out with like the cheaper ones. But they did these standard shells or these standard drums to kind of be more of a middle line, affordable, drum kit, as opposed to paying like more for a classic maple kit. Mm-hmm. Differences are lugs, so they don't kind of have like the cooler Art Deco style lugs on them.
Right.
Diamond plate's a little bit different. Obviously, different badges, as opposed to the blue olive. Yeah.
Do you know when they were introduced?
In the late 60s. I want to say maybe 68.
Okay. So is there a different badge on the 60s standards?
No.
It has the, this looks so 70s.
I know. I've had a few kits that were stamped to the 60s. Now those shells might have been, so these were B stock shells, and a lot of people don't know about that, is that they're in fact B stock. So the shells might have been sitting around for a couple of years, and then they developed the line, and they still had the stamp when they were made. So that might be why. I don't know if those drums actually left the factory in the 60s or not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The raw shell was made in the 60s, but you don't necessarily know when it was put together.
Yeah. I could also, I don't know the catalog offhand. Yep. And I could just be making that up. So truth be told,
fair enough.
When I don't know an answer to something, I'll be like, oh yeah, maybe we're just sitting around the factory.
So wait a minute. Okay. Fair enough. So you've got the pro level, which was probably just Ludwig's, right? And then they decided we need to come out with something. All these kids want drums. We need to come out with something that's a little bit more affordable. But then did the rocker replace the standard, or?
I wouldn't say replace it because they're different shells. And I think that was more late 70s.
That was when they were transitioning to.
Yeah. They had like a rocker too. And I kind of avoid rockers, but they're the black and white badges. And they're actually pretty good drums. Some of them have the classic lugs on it. But that, I think, kind of became their midline drum after these. These are way better drums, if you ask me.
Yeah. Same shells, right? So, okay, let's dig in further. What should you look for when shopping? First of all, would you recommend anyone get a standard if they want a Ludwig kit?
I love them.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just like my brain tricking me, but I swear every single standard kit I've had has sound better than a classic kit. I don't know if it's because the hardware is kind of like lower profile or what, but they sing more, if you will. They resonate. They sound a little fatter, which is weird because, like I said, they're B stock shells. So they basically repurpose the shells to make the standard line. Plus, I'm a big fan of kind of like the psychedelic style wraps.
Yeah, this is.
I love the Stratas. Cool. Lemon Strata's my favorite. I have some up there. I'll show you later.
Okay. What was the most common?
Blue. They did a lot of blue.
Like just a metallic blue? What was it?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a pearl cut kind of type blue.
Okay.
But it would fade sometimes to green. Bronze Strata, red Strata, ruby Strata is pretty common. And then there's avocado Strata, which is one of the more rare ones, and then lemon Strata. They also did astro finishes. So it's like, I'm trying to explain it. Very like hippie. The satin flame finishes from Gretsch, kind of like that, but like there's a little kind of like S style. I'll see if I have any wrap I can show you.
Is it textured? Like this is like
a
smooth...
textured. Yeah, absolutely. So it would crack and split. They did gold. They did white. They did like a blue. Another one I can't remember, but definitely like the psychedelic, because that's what was popular.
This looks way hipper to me. So let's say someone comes in, because I imagine the prices on these are now kind of creeping up to where the regular Ludwigs are. Would you steer someone towards this versus the regular one? What would be the determining factors?
That's a good question. I would probably ask him like how much you care about a finish. You know, because some people don't like the Strata finishes, like a sparkle, or also want to like consider money as well. These are a few $100s less than a classic kit. They used to be way cheaper, but I think that they're becoming more popular now that more people are playing them.
Yeah.
So this kit in particular is a single owner kit. So the gentleman I bought it from, I think he was 84, and he got these new, he couldn't remember the store name, but he got it in Pittsburgh. I want to guess it was Art's Drum Shop, which is downtown. 13, 22, 16, and there's a matching snare back there.
Is that rare to have a matching snare?
Sometimes.
Grab it.
Some people will kind of get angry if we sell a snare separate, but not everybody wants to have a matching snare. It's not like a thing anymore. Some people prefer it, some people don't. So we have this up separately. There are serial. I was going to say that the serial numbers don't mean as much on the standard badges as they do in the blue olive in the Keystone, but pretty well kept. We didn't really have to detail it. It's funny. He had which is common back in the day, you could add extra hardware. He put a muffler on there, which was completely unfunctional when we demoed it. It was rattling, so we took it off. But if you want to buy the kit, we would be happy to include this internal muffler with you.
Is that an original Ludwig?
No. Nope.
So he had it added later.
Yeah, this is Slingerland. But it wasn't drilled close enough to the edge, so it kind of just sits there. I was wondering why he had it all taped up. But
rattle.
Yeah, which is another thing too. These also have the tone controls, the mufflers.
Yep.
They have kind of an acrylite style. You see these a lot on these 60s acrylites, late 60s ones.
Yep.
They kind of changed their knob style a couple of times. But
what's your thought on these? Do you love them or hate them?
I do not like them.
Okay.
Because when we were kind of getting ready to demo this, they just rattle a lot. And if you like internal muffling, it's great. It's easy. You don't have to put anything on your heads. They function pretty well, but I don't really ever use muffling very often. So to me, it's just just another noise to make.
Does that take any value away if you would remove them?
Yeah, it's, people, I think it's more of sometimes it's a cosmetic thing because they see, there's two holes there. You're going to have a hole for the tone, the actual knob, and you're going to have so it would. I mean, it's just kind of cool. Like when we price this, we'll consider that it's a one owner kit that we didn't have to do a lot to it, other than, I guess you can consider the muffler being a mod, even though it was put on there by the original owner. The fact that it has all the tone controls and most of the tension rods are original, so consider like originality in there. It would add some value to it.
So what is the things to look out for that might not be up to par on this particular series?
So if you're gonna buy one and like you care about like the condition, because it has kind of like if you would say a horizontal pattern to the wrap, sometimes like the oyster finishes like blue oyster and black, there'll be like a crack that goes with the actual pattern. Oh. And sometimes you can't, like if you're going to somebody's garage at night and you can't like see it, sometimes you'll get home and be like, oh, there's a bunch of cracks in this. Mm-hmm. They'll also crack in the lug because it's a thinner wrap. So it's not, the blue cracks a lot, like way more than any other finish, which is really weird. But cracking in the wrap, honestly, like there's not a lot that can go wrong with these.
Spurs seem to be pretty basic. Yeah,
it's a club date style. It's the same ones they put on a club date. It's a telescoping spur. I like the gull wing spurs better, which is what they used on the 60s Ludwigs. Mm-hmm. And then they went to like the curved spurs in the 70s. They're fine. They're not my favorite. But really the biggest thing I'd consider is like for this particular series is to just watch like the wrap, make sure it's not cracking off. Take off the heads. Sometimes if somebody over tightens the heads or jams a small head on there, it'll kind of mess up the wrap and it'll kind of hide under the hoops.
It doesn't affect the sound really, right?
No.
It's just cosmetic.
We actually we bought a kit that was blue. It was blue, and we didn't really see the pictures very well, and they were all like, I think I got it. I tried to glue a couple of seams down, and was just like not. So we just ripped the wrap off, and we sent out the kit to have it rewrapped in green sparkle. Oh, cool. And it came. So sometimes these will come with classic lugs too.
I've never seen that.
We've had a few that came, and again, maybe they just ran out of the lugs.
Right.
The factory. Because they take the same hole spacing, which is another thing too. So if you get one of these kits for a good deal and you don't like the lugs, these will take the classic style lugs.
You can turn it into a classic kit.
There you can.
What's that other snare you got over there?
Oh, so I brought this. This is another. So the standard series just wasn't wood shells. Oh, also this is basically a jazz festival. It's an 8-lug, 5x14, 3-ply. So some people call this a poor man's jazz festival, but it's not nearly as much.
Yeah, that price tag is nice.
Yeah, so if you want the jazz festival sound, get one of these. And I want to guess that the lugs fit, but don't hold me to that because I don't want any angry emails. So they also made this. This is a standard aluminum. It's basically an acrylate. 1, 2, 3, 8 lugs. It's got the standard kind of style lugs, standard badge. Spun seamless shell. So the same kind of shell that you would use for an acrylate. It's got the kind of the flange on the inside.
Yeah.
I feel like these are thinner than acrylates. I don't know if I don't know.
It's a seamless shell. It's not a rolled shell.
Yeah. And they sound awesome. Really dry. Kind of my favorite. If I had to choose between an acrylate or a super, I would probably take this.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like them for some reason. But again, these are about the same price as like a 70s acrylate. But
now, do you ever have any issues with the lug casing snapping or is there anything that like faulty? Are these just cheaper? I don't understand why they use these. What's the savings?
They were probably cheaper to make because there's if you look at a classic lug, there's like 3 or 4 lines. Right. It's more it probably costs more to make. These are probably cheaper. Same thing with cymbal mount here. It's kind of just more of like a bulbous, rounded type thing. The diamond plate I actually like better than the diamond plate on a classic kit.
Yeah, no, I think
it's more low profile, and it also another thing too is this center post is not the same as a classic kit.
Much thinner, right?
Right. So if you were to buy this and try to use like a classic tom tree, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. I wish I had. So they made another kit. It's called an S330, I think. You've probably seen somebody. Aaron Sterling has one. It's green and they're concert toms. So they were made to be a nesting kit. It's a 22, yes. Like usually a 10, 12, 13, and then a 16. And they're all like,
yep. Those
are like really popular.
Joey Warnker talked about that in his episode. That's that being like his favorite kit right now.
Yeah. And those are standard. It's I wonder why they decided to do that. I know Slingerland did the Avante kit, which was the 3 up top too, but they're 2-sided. I wonder if they like had a bad run of shells and they just like cut off maybe. I don't know. That's a total guess. But those are also standard badge drums, but they're really good. I love these drums sound so fat and they're really easy to tune. And some people will buy, like they'll call or whatever, and they're like, I don't have a vintage kit yet. I want to get a Ludwig. This is a great kit because they're a little easier to tune. They're not as finicky, and they sound like Ludwig.
Yeah.
So
I can't hear a difference. Blindfolded, I wouldn't know the difference.
Blindfolded.
Right?
That should be a thing where we just bring people and blindfold them.
Can you tell what this is?
I would feel that every single time.
When I played them a few minutes ago, it was like, yes, these are Ludwigs. Just fat. Give it all back to someone's knocking at your door. That might be time to wrap it up.
Well, yeah, this is a kit, and I like it.
Ludwig standard.
Check it out. Great way to end it.